What's going down, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Holmes Hobbies Motor Control. It's your boy Josh, aka Coleman, hanging out in the studio, man. It's kind of weird lighting in here today. Sorry about that. I'm having lighting issues right now, so hopefully we'll get that taken care of before too long. Anyways, today I'm kind of excited. I want to give you guys an update on the XJ build and the electronic situation. So, kind of a bittersweet scenario. So unfortunately, I'm still not done with the electronics. It still looks like a mess over here, but I've made some serious progress, and I discovered something that is like really making me happy. So for those of you that aren't familiar with this and what's been going on, this is a Jeep XJ build that I'm doing, a hard body build that I'm doing. I've been talking about it off and on for quite a few episodes now. It's been a little bit of a headache, but I am determined to get it done. And recently I stripped the whole thing back down. After getting it working, I stripped it all back down, pulled all the wires back out of it because I accidentally plugged something in wrong and fried some electronics. Magic smoke came out, and yeah, so I took advantage of the opportunity to strip it all back down and do a better job at wiring it. So that's what I'm in the middle of. Here you can see what's going on. Basically, we're running an ESP anti-spur setup. We've got a 10-to-1 gear reduction unit, a Holmes Hobbies Puller Pro. This is basically a fast motor. It's a 3500 kV 540. So this is something you would see usually in something a little bit quicker. However, because we're running it divorced through a 10-to-1 gear reduction unit using an axial transmission, it's actually really well geared. So that being said, we've got like a makeshift leaf spring conversion going on in the back right now. This will all get cleaned up. Everything's going to get cleaned up. But in the meantime, we're really working on getting the wiring dialed down. So beforehand, I had all kinds of wiring going on. This entire area right here was completely filled up with wiring. I mean, completely. This was just a big glob of you know, heat shrink and wire loom, and it was just a mess, and the drive shaft would rub under full compression, and I just was not happy with it. So what I decided to do is basically, well, obviously I stripped it all down, but I decided to minimize the wiring. So in stripping it all down, I had to figure out what I blew up, and what I did wind up blowing up was this ESC, which I've got wires wrapped all over. So this ESC, which is a Trailmaster BLE Pro, I blew this up. As you can see, I've already salvaged some wires from it. I'll show you actually what I did with these. I took the bullet connectors off here, and yeah, I also took the Dean's plug, but I didn't take that one yet. I still need to take that. I like to reuse my wires. That's why I have so many of these, and some of you guys already saw I have a whole drawer full of excess spare wires and stuff. You just never know when you're going to use them. Plus, I went to school for mobile electronics, so wires are kind of something I'm into. That's a weird statement, but so basically, what I'm doing here is I am making all my wires custom length. Not all of them, but the ones that I feel are just too excessively long, I'm shortening them and making them custom length. So what I've done is, and also you should know I have 3 different voltage systems going on here. So I'll be running things at 3 different voltage levels. So I'll have a 6 to 8.4 volt system. I will have a 12 volt steady system, or as they say in the automotive world, a constant 12 volt. And then I will also have a battery powered system, which will be whatever voltage my battery is. So if I'm running a 4S, it'll be 4S, you know, between 14.4 and 16.6 volts. If I'm running 3S, it'll be, you know, between 11.1 and 12.6 volts, etc. Most likely I'm going to be running 4S the majority of the time in this. So now that you understand that, what I've got going on is specific components running those voltages. So my winch, for instance, my winch is going to be running battery power from BR Mini. Okay, this is actually a dual BR Mini, so this is dual BR XLs without a case put together. One of these controls the front winch, and you can see these 2 wires right here. These 2 wires go underneath the gear reduction unit. You can't really see them underneath though very much, just for a second, right? And those will get covered up as well. And then they come out to the front right here and go to the winch. Now I have them on bullet connectors, and that's where those, you know, that's how I'm repurposing the wires from my blown up ESC. Is I took the red and the black bullet connectors from that, and I have other bullet connectors. You know, when you order from Holmes Hobbies, a lot of times you can get these bullet connectors as well. So I got a bunch of bullet connectors, and I've been going through and making my own bullet connector setups on my wires. That way I have just a quick way to unplug things, but they're not big plugs that take up a lot of space. Bullet connectors are barely any bigger than the wire they're on. So very efficient way to have plugs that you can disconnect but still be fairly discreet about it. So then up here we've got these pods right here, and we also have a light bar right here, which I'm not sure if you can actually see that, but that is a light bar right there. And those are going to be wired together, and they are going to be on a 12 volt constant. So that 12 volt constant will be somewhere right here. I'm going to have a plug, I believe. That way I can disconnect these right here if I want to. Maybe right here, or maybe somewhere back in here I will have a plug. That way they can be disconnected, but that will run to my 12 volt constant. This right here, this is my SHV 500 servo, and it runs a basically a independent power system, so you can plug it in directly to your battery. So here you can see the wire here, the plug, and it plugs into my Dean's, which has that lead coming off of it already. Right now it's disconnected because I'm going to custom lengthen it to go where I need it to go, and it's also going to be tied into my BR Mini and my BLE Pro, so that way when I plug this into the battery, both these come on at the exact same time, right? And they'll be wired into the same lead. That way I don't have two Deans and all that kind of stuff going on. It'll be nice and simple. And this basically will provide battery power to my steering. So my steering will be on 4S, which is, it's pushing it, but if you've ever seen an SHV 500 operate on 4S, it's hard to go back to 3S. These things are amazing. So that's the plan there. And then what I'm doing for my receiver, whoops, this is where things get good, actually. Oh, and I should mention this right now. Oh, no, I can't get this out of here. All right, so I should mention, while we're talking about this SHV 500 servo, this is the one that I thought I blew up. Turns out I did not blow this up. I did not fry this. I thought I fried it when I plugged everything in and I blew my ESC. Turns out this was not connected to that system, and it did not fry. So I also did not fry my light kits. So the light kits still work. Servo still works. The only thing that actually let out any smoke was my BLE Pro and my receiver, which is right here, the 6-channel receiver. So receiver let out the smoke, the BLE Pro let out the smoke, and that's okay. Thankfully we had a backup on deck, and I went crazy for a while trying to find a backup receiver, and thankfully I finally found one, which brings me to the next part of this, and that's where I'm going to show you guys how I'm getting my 12 volt system and everything else. So this right here is an axial receiver box. You guys are familiar with these. Inside of this I have another 6-channel receiver identical to this one. I went through all of my stuff and the old planes I had laying around and everything. Boom, over there. Those things, I didn't build them, my late uncle that passed did, but I was able to find another identical 6-channel receiver. So we are back in business. We've got our 6-channel receiver again. We're not running 6 channels. We're only running it off of this FlySky FS-IT4. So it's a 4-channel radio, and we're making it work. So we'll have 4 channels available for operation, but 6 channels putting out power. So it's great. So then what I have here is I've marked these. I only marked 2 of them that way because that's all I needed to mark. The rest of them, I know what they are, and I don't want everything having a bunch of paint all over it. But basically, what we've got going on here is, let's move these around. We have, I can disconnect this right here. We have channel 1 coming out right here. All right, channel 1 with a Y harness. The reason for having the Y harness coming out of the channels like this is so that basically I can run one of these to the front, and I have channel 1 signal up front, and I can run one to the back, and I have channel 1 signal in the back, right? That's why I did that, just in case I want to run things with blinkers or whatever, right? Channel 1 is traditionally your steering channel, so This, if I want to run blinkers, anything like that at all, this will be up front where I can just tap into it and I can get that blinker power, right? This one is channel 2, which is traditionally your throttle channel. So same thing here. I've got 2 of them. That way I can split one, run it to the back, and the other one I can split and run it to the front. The reason I'm running one to the back is because I want to have a lead for trailers. So when I plug in my trailers, I can use a similar light kit on the trailers and basically have brake lights, tail lights, all that stuff, reverse lights with my trailer, right? And if I'm running this, I'll have blinkers as well. So I probably won't run the blinkers. It's just, you know, I want the option there. So that's what those are for. Then we have channel 3 and channel 4, which are just extensions coming out. They don't have Y harnesses. And the reason for that is because these just need to go to the BR Mini. So there's 2 leads coming out of the BR Mini because it's a dual BR Mini, so it's basically 2 ESCs, one for channel 3, one for channel 4, right? Those are going to go to this, and that will allow me to control them independently. So that's my front winch and my rear winch right there, and that's how I'll control those. So then we have right here, this is basically battery lead coming out. So this is our 6-volt lead, and I have it on a splitter or on a Y harness like this. That way I can run 6 volts to the front and 6 volts to the rear. My goal for that is to be able to have, in case I want to build things up in the back of this, because this is essentially going to be kind of overland style build. So I may have plugs in the back of the Jeep where I can plug things in, such as my phone or batteries or external lighting, things of that nature. I want to have plugs back there. I also need to have a plug up front because I'm going to be running fans and things like that. So when I plug in my fans, they only run on 6 volts. I don't need these to run on 12 volts and blow up, right? So 6 volts is all you need going to those. The last lead I have coming out is going to be this right here, and this is my waterproof Castle Creations BEC 2.0. And basically, the way I set this up, and I don't technically need this for the most part. It's not going to my servo or for my RX to maintain power or anything. This is to create a 12-volt system. So I have this going to my RX just because you're supposed to. I think this is going to help with cleaning up the signal in the RX, maybe making sure there is some sort of power in the RX, not 100% sure. But this is my power output right here, and this will put out a steady 12 volts, right? This is my power input, and this can handle more voltage than I will ever need to throw at it. So I can run 4S in, it will put out 12 volts here, and this bad boy right here will run to my receiver, where I don't know actually why that's going to run to the receiver. I really don't know why. I think it's just to clean up the signal, and that's also why it has this on there as well, I believe. But, you know, I haven't studied electronics in so long, I honestly don't remember anymore. But that's what I'm doing with it. So this will tap in with my Dean's plug here as well, and get battery voltage from there. And yeah, I also plugged in a on-off switch because this 12-volt system is mainly going to be to control all of my light bars. So every light bar I have and my big fog lights up front are all going to get power from this. So with this switch on it, if I hide this somewhere, I should be able to just click this off and on, and it will turn on and off my rock lights, my light bars up on top of the Jeep, and my pods in the front here. So when it's off, I'll just be running my normal standard lights just like anybody else would. So that's basically what's going on right now. I just wanted to give you guys a good update on this. I have been working on it really consistently throughout the weekend. Everything's looking a lot better. Here you can see I also have I use the bullet connectors here as well to connect. This goes back to my rear winch, which, you know, the wires do reduce in size as they go back because these winch wires, the wires that come out of the winches, are super small. You know, and I want to increase that as much as possible. I know it's a bit of a bottleneck, so you know, it is what it is. But those are the wires I had on deck, and I didn't want to run a bunch of small wires because I feel like they break too easy. So yeah, I'm gonna keep on wrenching on this. I'm gonna keep on running wires. My next step is basically to get all my power connected to the Dean's plugs. This right here will be mounted underneath. So I know you can't really see this, but it's going to go up underneath here, and then I've got these two holes right here where it will be mounted up under there, and these wires will all be covered up and ran discreetly as possible up along the chassis rails. So that is the plan. That's how I'm doing it. Now it's stuck in there. I can't get it out. Boom. So yeah, we've managed to cut down a lot of wires in the process, and these are all going to get shortened and custom lengthened as well to go exactly where they need to be. So we will have the least amount of wires possible for the maximum amount of performance, or the maximum amount of ability, or whatever you want to call it, cool features that this thing's going to have. So yeah, I hope that helps some of you guys out. I hope that kind of inspires some of you guys to step up your wiring game on your builds. And when it's all said and done, you never know. You could have a really cool, really functional vehicle, and if you do it just right, it should last for a long time. You shouldn't have any issues with wires failing on you and things like that if you do it right. So that's why I'm taking the time to do it right. It's been a few weeks of working on this, and I have a feeling this will be the last week I work on this. I'm trying to finish this up by next weekend, and then then we can have some fun with it and move on to some other projects and start talking about, going back to basics. That's something I've been trying to do, and this build's kind of getting in the way of that. So I just want to get it done, and we'll go back to talking about our basics, talking about motors, electronics, ESCs, and what it all means. So that being said, you guys, thank you very much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I'm going to get up out of here. I'll see you on the trails. Peace of chicken grease, fam. Yeah.